Welcome back. This is Pharma Careers, clear role breakdowns, practical skills, and step-by-step career roadmaps.
What if you could have a career in data that actually has a direct impact on public health? Well, today, that's what we're diving into. We're exploring something called clinical data management, or CDM for short. It's this super critical, behind-the-scenes role that makes sure the data from clinical trials is, well, absolutely rock solid.
Okay, so right off the bat, let's just clear up a really common misconception. You hear data job, and your mind probably goes to a typical IT role, right? Kind of flexible, broad focus, but clinical data management? Nope, it's a completely different beast. See, this job operates in a world of super strict regulations and controls, and there's a good reason for that. This data becomes the official evidence for new medicines. Everything, and I mean everything, has to be traceable and completely audit-ready.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll talk about why this isn't just another data job. Then, we'll look inside the actual workflow. After that, we'll build your skill toolkit, see what your future in clinical data could look like, and finally, we'll get into the reality of the role.
All right, first up, let's really get to the heart of the mission here and understand what makes this job so unique and so highly regulated.
So what does clinical data management actually mean? Look, it's not just about cleaning up messy spreadsheets. Not at all. CDM is the very formal, very serious practice of making sure every single data point from a clinical trial is pristine, consistent, and totally traceable. What's the end game? To create a data set that's so clean, so perfect, it can survive the intense scrutiny of a regulatory audit. No pressure, right?
Okay, I know that might sound a little abstract, so let's make it way more concrete. What does a clinical data manager actually do all day?
Well, your world pretty much revolves around this core loop. First, data flows into these systems called electronic data capture systems, or EDC. Then, you basically become a detective. You design and run these things called edit checks, which are just logic rules you program to hunt for errors. And when they find something, well, that's when you have to investigate and figure out these data discrepancies with the people at the clinical site.
So here's what that workflow looks like in action. You're reviewing data as it comes in from the clinical sites. You're running those edit checks we just talked about to flag any potential errors. And when one pops up, you issue what's called a query back to the site, asking them, hey, what's going on here? You also have to take data from different places, like lab results, and make sure it all lines up perfectly. And all of this hard work leads to the final supercritical step, database lock. Once that happens, that's it. No more changes.
So, what kind of person actually thrives in a role like this? Let's break down the essential skills you're going to need in your toolkit if you want to succeed.
What's so fascinating about this role is the really unique blend of skills you need. On one hand, you have to have structured, logical thinking and just immense discipline for following processes. And yeah, you need some tech skills with data and Excel, but you also need a basic clinical understanding. Why? So you can spot issues that a pure IT person would probably just gloss right over. And all of this comes together in the art of writing really effective queries.
Yeah, and I really love this quote because it just gets to the heart of the communication skills you need. Think about it. You're pointing out a potential mistake to a super busy doctor or nurse at a clinic, so your question has to be crystal clear, super precise, and totally professional. You can't be emotional or sound like you're accusing them of anything. It's this very technical kind of communication that honestly requires a lot of finesse.
Okay, but this is the million-dollar question, right? Especially for anyone just starting out, a fresher. If you don't have direct experience, how on earth do you show a hiring manager that you have the right mindset and the right skills?
Well, here's the answer. You build a portfolio. You don't need access to expensive, fancy industry software to show what you can do. You can create a sample query log using dummy data. You can draft a really detailed data cleaning checklist. You can even show a step-by-step example of how you would find and then resolve a discrepancy. This is how you prove you've got that structured thinking and process discipline that employers are desperate to see.
All right, so where does this path actually lead? Let's take a look at the career ladder and what your future could look like in the world of clinical data.
And the great news here is that an entry-level CDM role is a launchpad. It's not a dead end. From here, you can grow into lead roles where you're managing entire projects. Or you could specialize in actually building the clinical databases themselves. You could even move into developing the universal data standards that the entire industry uses. And ultimately, this path can lead you all the way up to high-level strategy roles inside a big pharma company.
So, who is this really for? Well, it's a perfect fit for people who are analytical by nature, people who actually like structured processes.
If you're looking for a career where your success is based on your precision and your integrity, and not on hitting sales quotas or schmoozing clients, then this is an incredibly solid path for you.
Okay, and finally, let's wrap this up with a little bit of a reality check, because it's really important to go into a field like this with your eyes wide open. Let's be really clear about something. The biggest myth is that this job is easy just because it's a back-end role. It is not easy. But the difficulty doesn't come from, say, complex algorithms. It comes from the relentless, unwavering discipline the job demands. It might be back-end, but that rigor is exactly what makes it so critical. And look, it's not for everyone, and that's totally okay. The one word you really need to remember is strict.
And all of that brings us to the final question, the one for you to really think about. You see, this job is about so much more than just managing data points. It's about building the very foundation of trust and evidence for new medicines. So the real question is this: do you have the focus and the discipline to be an architect of integrity?
If this helped, like and subscribe. Watch the next video in Pharma Careers for the next role breakdown.